Futurologists predict that in 30 years, sex and relationships with robots will become the norm. That by 2050, machines will be more in demand as partners than people. Sounds like the setup for a dystopia, doesn't it? But there's no point in denying the obvious. Technology is penetrating deeper and deeper into every sphere of our lives, including the most intimate. And while we argue about whether we should fear competition from silicon lovers, the industry is already taking giant leaps forward. Today, we are embarking on a journey into the uncanny valley to figure out, is there a future for such relationships? Can a machine become the perfect partner? And will this race for synthetic perfection lead to us losing ourselves? This is going to be a hot one. Part 1. From Sailor to Android, a brief history of desire. Sex androids didn't appear out of nowhere. Their ancestors are sex dolls, whose history dates back to the 16th century, when European sailors on long voyages created companions for themselves from fabric and old clothes. The very idea of creating a perfect, obedient partner is as old as time. Remember the myth of Pygmalion, who fell in love with a statue he created? It's the eternal dream of total control and perfect love. But since then, technology has made a giant leap. Today's sex robots are not just pieces of silicon. The most advanced models, like Harmony, are complex devices packed with technology. Their heads, costing $10,000, are attached to high-tech bodies with touch sensors, internal heating, and self-lubricating surfaces. They can talk to you, joke, and even remember facts from previous conversations. Their personality is created and customized in a smartphone app even before purchase. This is no longer just a chatbot. This is a learning artificial intelligence that lives not in a robotic head, but in the cloud, constantly updating itself. Programmers are working on adding spontaneity to them, small, unexpected moments to keep the relationship with the owner fresh. The latest updates even include the ability to hold a conversation about global crises to try to calm and comfort the owner. And it works. During the period of global self-isolation, sales of such dolls tripled, despite the $12,000 price tag for a basic version. It is in the ability to show support and attention that the creators see the future of sex robots. But we will return to this question later. Part 2. Ghosts in the Shell, the race for realism. The competition in this industry is enormous. Robots are emerging that can hold conversations in different languages. Robots that know how to refuse if a partner behaves aggressively, simulating human boundaries. Robots with multiple modes: family, romantic, and of course, sexual. But for now, they all can't walk. Their realism still leaves much to be desired. And against this backdrop, companies striving for hyper-realism stand out. They plan to create copies of celebrities with 99% accuracy, detailed down to hundredths of a millimeter. The service life of such products is 50 years. That is, a lifetime. The first examples are already striking: protruding veins, realistic goosebumps on the skin, implanted human hair. Such accuracy is achieved through 3D scanning of real models. These are no longer just dolls. These are scenes from the series Westworld brought to life. The ultimate goal is the creation of full-fledged companions, exact copies of oneself or a loved one. But even these impressive creations are still very limited physically. A full-size droid weighing as much as a real girl has to be moved manually, put into the desired pose. And this is with a rather high cost for both the robot itself and for renting it in specialized doll hotels that are already opening up around the world.
Part 3. Two paths to the future: mind or tool. Today, there are two concepts for the future of sex robots. The first involves creating robots with minds, consciousness, free will, morality, and perhaps even the legal status of citizens. We've seen something similar in the series Real Humans or the film Ex Machina. But the paradox is that creating a robot that is an exact copy of a human, capable of being capricious, misbehaving, and arguing, calls into question the very meaning of its creation. Why do we need another complex, unpredictable partner if we already have people? The second concept is much more pragmatic. It is the creation of an advanced, beautiful robot companion, an ideal tool. It will help around the house, provide moral support during the day, and sexual services at night, regardless of its mood. It is always ready, always obliging, always perfect. It is this second path that seems most likely. But there is a third road: virtual reality. The demand for sex has also grown manifold in recent years. And what's interesting is that the increased demand is not just for sex, but for what simulates a relationship, along gaze, hugs, conversations, psychological support. We've already seen this concept in the film Blade Runner 2049, where the virtual joy was precisely the emotional support for the hero. Perhaps the future is not a physical robot, but a hybrid. A robot avatar that can be controlled remotely using virtual reality to bring partners living far apart closer. Haptic feedback technologies that allow for sensations in the mouth and on the lips through a VR headset are already being developed. And who knows to what other organs this technology can be applied. But here we come to the main question that worries engineers, sociologists, and governments. Can a sex robot be treated the same as other sex gadgets? No smart vibrator causes as many protests and disputes. Opponents of droids argue that this is an attempt to replace a real partner, destroying the institution of the family and devaluing women. Supporters see them as a salvation for those who have difficulties in communication due to psychological or physical peculiarities. Developers talk about the interest from elderly people who have lost a partner, and the ability of robots to support a person during a period of depression. The boundaries between technology and sexuality are blurring. But for them to completely blur, a great leap is needed both in robotics and in cybersecurity. A droid that tracks your face is fine until someone else connects to its camera and you see yourself naked on YouTube. And there is another problem: the uncanny valley. This term, introduced by roboticist Masahiro Mori, describes the dislike for beings that are very similar to humans but have differences that indicate they are not human. This effect can cause both unpleasant emotions and an extreme degree of aggression. This is partly why many sex robots have disproportionate, fantastic faces, as if demonstratively showing, "I am not pretending to be human." People attack robots when they realize they won't fight back. Newspapers have already written about an epidemic of attacks, from mistreatment of sex bots to arson of drones and beatings of robot guides. Conclusion: freedom and responsibility. With such freedom in sexual expression, humanity, I'm afraid, has encountered this for the first time. And it is a double-edged sword. On one hand, about half of the respondents in recent studies believe that the presence of sex dolls can reduce the number of cases of sexual violence. On the other hand, almost as many respondents believe that the problem of objectification, in this case, will only worsen. We live in a world where polyamory and same-sex relationships are ceasing to be something out of the ordinary. The norm is expanding, and most likely, the story with sex tech will also be normalized. But will humanity cope with such responsibility, with such a new volume of previously unexplored freedom? Despite the growing popularity
of liberated androids, humanity still leans toward the idea that sex is more pleasant with someone who definitely gets pleasure from the process, who has their own desires. Can a robot become the perfect partner? Possibly. But will it replace a human? Unlikely. Rather, it will become another tool in our endless search for intimacy, pleasure, and salvation from loneliness. And where this search will lead, only the future will tell.